Park Recreation and Northwest Master Plan Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 27th, 2006. It's approximately 5:37 in the afternoon. Present are Councilwoman Bell, myself, Councilwoman Waldman, Councilwoman Garner, and Councilman Porter. I have a motion for approval of the June 13th minutes.
I'll move it.
Second. I have a motion second for approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor of the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If there are no objections, I want to deviate to item 4, Parks and Recreation Committee, and turn the gavel over to Councilwoman Waldman, who chairs that committee. Item 4 on our agenda, Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Tab 5, item 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have it wrong.
You're fine.
Okay.
Parks and Rec.
Are we all right? All right, thank you, Mr. Losner. As many of you were attending today the State of the City address, we had some news that things are changing with the stadium, and not that we've ever changed our position, but I have to let you know that right off the bat. If you still want to make your presentation, be more than happy to listen to you and keep it in consideration, but things have changed as of this afternoon.
Go ahead and make our presentation.
All right, before you continue, Clerk, does he have a mic? Are you going to give a presentation there? Is a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, we have a PowerPoint presentation. Video.
Okay. We need you to try to speak into the mic so we have you on the
I just
record.
want you to know, though, right up front, that the stadium is not for sale.
If I might, just for the record, so there won't be any misunderstanding, whatever the mayor says in his speech is really technically just his opinion.
I understand.
Until the council does something in furtherance of it in a public meeting. So, thank you.
So if you're ready, we'll put the screen down and the council will retire to the front row.
I'd first like to thank the council for at least giving us the opportunity to discuss the potential expansion, or our potential expansion, to the Homestead Sports Complex. We're talking, my name is Greg Brunick. I'm a Senior Vice President, Co-Director of the IMG Academies, along with Ted Meekma, and who's also here with us today. And we also have Jeff McNeil, who's our CFO, and Dave Clark, who's with the K-Clubs. And IMG Academies and K-Clubs have various partnerships in educational programming as well as in the various real estate activities that relate to what we do in delivering our operations. But in addition to this brief PowerPoint presentation, we're going to jump back and forth to a video, and the reason for the video is provide background on the Academy, and each of you have a handout. One is the IMG Academy's K-Club Homestead expansion. The other is IMG Academy's background, which is the background as a takeaway for you. The purpose of the DVD is background on the Academy, but more importantly, it illustrates firsthand what could be expected if decision tonight is to forge ahead. And I recognize that there have been some changes in terms of the city and what they want to do with the facility with regards to ownership, which is a little different than we were hoping for, but we'd like to talk about that. On the first slide, if we can go to the first slide, the concept in its simplest form is to take two very successful elements of the Academy, and keep in mind IMG Academies is, they're looking at a nice, I get rambling on here, we'll be able to fold up and they won't have seen any slides. Next slide, slide 2. It basically taking two very successful elements of the Academy, the Baseball Academy and our Soccer Academy, and those programs, and actually plugging them into the Homestead Sports Complex. And what that does and what we feel will happen, immediately revitalize the facility, as well as create a destination landmark attraction for the city. And underpinned with that is the renowned training and educational methodology of the Academy, which has been developed and delivered to juniors, adults, families, professional athletes, and professionals alike from some 70 to 80 nations around the world. Other elements that we will bring to the table, because it's part and parcel to our operation, is our school operations, the Pendleton School, University of Miami Online High School, accredited in every state in the United States, as well as IPI performance, cycling, triathlon, and in the future, tennis and golf components, when appropriate, would be put in place. The programs, if we go to the next slide, the programs that would be relocated will be delivered in a junior short-time summer camp, full-time academy semesters, high school, college, national and professional team training, professional athlete training, as well as tournament and league competitions. And in the various bullet points up there, there's thousands of students going through those programs today in Bradenton, and we feel that expanding to here gives us expanded capacity in our breeding facilities, but also positions the Homestead complex so that it will be globally recognized overnight, and the income streams and the operations surrounding these would immediately carry the facility, relieve the city of the burden of operations, of the burden of capital expenses, and the various and necessary things to keep that facility up and operational. In moving forward, we can go on to the next slide. The timeline, if we were to do something like this, and again, we were thinking along the lines of hopefully having an opportunity to work out a purchase arrangement, a use and purchase arrangement, we would want to commence modifications to the facilities as early as October, November of '06. Irrigation, updated irrigation, expanded irrigation, extensive turf programs, to get the fields up and running, as well as begin a renovation program for the various buildings on the complex. We can also go to the next slide. Again, our arrangement was that we would create a new entity, IMG Academies, K-Clubs, Homestead LLC, for lack of a better name, and do a use and purchase agreement with the city. We can go on to the next slide. And much of well, obviously this is the facilities. We've had our engineers drop in some. Okay, we can come back to that. Much of this we've talked about. Just to go back, much of the long-term game plan we've talked about briefly, but the complex will be used for short and long-term sports and training and practice facilities featuring private education academy, meals, accommodations. Part and parcel to that is developing commercial housing for the operations and delivering to the customers. And we would obviously cover all capital spending associated with that. And the next slide is just a picture of the facility. We had our engineers do a quick exercise to determine. You can go to the next slide. Number 6. Yeah, I think number 6. Yeah. To see what it would look like putting soccer fields in, and then obviously we'd add the soccer fields, upgrade the baseball facilities, upgrade the dorm facilities, and look at other housing opportunities that we could do. We also would be looking at this for other various entertainment and event activities that we could do in conjunction with the city and the various things that would be going on in Homestead. At this time, I think I'd like to just show the video you'll get a very quick understanding of what the Academy is about. And as we said earlier, there's some 70, 80 nations that come to the Academy. As we speak today, there's over 1,000 people in the house. There's children from all over. It's all about training, education, high achievement, performance. Children, youth, adults, professionals that want to do something and want to enhance everything about what they're doing in sports, as well as from the junior standpoint, as well as from the educational realm, and trying to be the best that they can be. We've been at it for some 30 years. The Homestead Sports Complex is a perfect fit from an expansion standpoint. While we're waiting for it to get going, there's a limited window in terms of when you could transition and not transition. Summer, spring, or fall is when we would start transitioning our programs onto the site. It should be coming on here right now. Hopefully it's coming on right now. Okay. See if you can. We brought a few of them in case. Hit play. There we go. Now we get the volume up.
Sorry for a second. Rewind. Let's rewind it.
Okay. Sorry for it's only a 5-minute presentation, so can we start from the back, from the beginning? That happens to be Tommy House, one of the world's finest tennis players in the world. What's it doing? Turn the volume down.
That's full blast. This is coming out of the computer.
Do you have a DVD do you have a
DVD player? Told me they're going to have one for us.
12,000 athletes from approximately 80 countries come to IMGA's 300-acre campus in Brady.
Well, I'll tell you what. Are we going to be able to...
Yes. To play it again?
No, I mean...
Sharapova, Selish, Courier, and Agassi. Only a few of the famous alumni who have taken advantage of the visionary programs instituted by legendary coach and academy founder Nick Bollettieri and his staff. The NBTA wrote the book on tennis training. The David Ledbetter Golf Academy, the DLGA at IMG Academies, is the pioneer of junior golf academy training. No such program has put more players into college or on tour. Just ask Paula Creamer. The Soccer Academy. 7 Bermuda grass fields play host to the Soccer Academy's residency and camp programs. MLS teams, international clubs, Olympic teams, USSF national teams, and countless other junior, collegiate, and pro players have also trained on site. The Baseball Academy. The professional staff at the Baseball Academy is uniquely qualified to take its full-time, summer, holiday, team, wood bat league, and professional players to their highest possible level of performance. The Basketball Academy. Why do Chauncey Billups, Al Harrington, and dozens more NBA stars train at the Basketball Academy in their off-season? Simple. They want to train with Joe Abunassar and his staff, both on and off the court. The International Performance Institute. Our IPI specialists deliver performance enhancement via a system that combines optimal movement, strength, power, and flexibility training, recovery, and proper nutrition. IMG Academy's Mental Conditioning. Our mental conditioning professionals help athletes develop the skills necessary to deal with competitive pressures in a positive, effective manner in and out of the athletic arena. The Officiating Academy. The Officiating Academy now offers an annual calendar of unique sport-specific officiating schools for referees and officials at every level.
Referees communicate through their signals.
IMG Academies, K-Clubs International present the Professional Fishing Academy. Captain Norm Isaacs heads up a crew that guarantees students an awesome fishing experience, optimizing professional instruction, a high percentage of on-vessel time, and unlimited fun in Marathon Key, Clearwater, and Bradenton, Sarasota, Florida. Other IMG amenities include voluntary sports medicine, game-on communication skills training, the Pendleton School, University of Miami Language School and college courses, IMGA Golf and Country Club, the Spa, and international locations. IMG Academies delivers a world-class sports training and education experience within an atmosphere that is fun, healthy, active, and inspiring. It possesses a beautiful array of comfortable and relaxing K-Club accommodations, and its amenities are unlike anything anywhere in the world today. Let IMG Academies custom design a sports recreation experience for every member of your family. IMG Academies, world-class training, facilities, athletes, and staff.
That's a brief overview of what the Academy is about, but Ted Meekman and I have been at this for about 30 years, and what we really are is a community development arm. And our whole business plan is about training and education, sports, arts, and academics, high performance, and adding many service tuition columns in all of those areas. And as we do that, we've created a culture we started with 10 acres. We're now over close to 500 acres in the midst of amassing another 1,500 acres to build a whole town around the Academy. And what's happened is we have families from all over the world that are now relocating into the area, and this has been going on for years, and buying into what the Academy is all about, wanting it for their children, and wanting it for the place to live. And I think the same sort of thing could happen here. Sure. Great. Sorry for the
it's fine.
technical difficulties.
Need some lights. There we go.
It's not my computer.
Should I continue?
Go ahead, please.
It's a beautiful facility. I mean, you know, when you came and made a presentation to me a few months ago, I told you then, and I'll tell you now, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I know that you have very good intentions, but I wanted to open it up to the council to see if they had any questions.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Thank you. I really liked it a lot. I want to say that the mayor did say at his State of the City address today that he wanted that site for a school, but I would also like to say what our attorney said, and that was, it was a speech, and it was very nice. But I did have, I wanted to keep on the table for council that we did about 18 to 20 months ago. The Education Committee had a very big, very serious meeting with pretty much a full chambers, and we brought in the track and the military, and we brought in and we got many opinions, and we took a look at it. And much of that sports complex is right within the ACUs, and some of it is right outside of the ACUs. So I would really, and the mayor wasn't here tonight, so I wanted to share that I, at this point, I'm very reluctant to consider putting a school on the sports complex, knowing that it is so close to the accident potential zone. Another thing I was thinking about as the mayor was speaking, and I think it's, you know, I'm the chairwoman of the Education Committee, and there was nothing I would like better. There's nothing I've been working harder for as a high school, and I have been working hard towards a high school for the last 2.5 years. And we know we desperately need a high school, and so we've really got to go out to the school board really, really hard on high school. But I don't want us to just throw something out on something that might happen, especially when I have serious concerns about putting a high school in the sports complex or any school in the sports complex. Also, we are in the process right now, actually probably somewhat in the middle of a joint land use study, the JLUS. And we have thousands and thousands of dollars put into the JLUS. We don't know it, and I think that the JLUS needs to be notified immediately from our staff of this potential idea, because that's something that they must take into account when they're considering this. Now, we just survived the BRAC process, and sorry if I'm going a little bit outside here, but it's important in order to go back to this. I'm really not straying that far. We just survived the BRAC process, and one of the things that they look at when you survive the BRAC process is they look at encroachment, they look at how well the city treats its military installations, they look at many things. And we have done so well in the city of Homestead because of our consideration for our military installation. We have been so protective, if you will, and wrapped our arms around it. So I would really want to caution us as a council, no matter how great the idea is, and it's a fabulous idea, and you know, I think, like I said, I give the mayor credit. It's a great idea, but I think reality is going to hit home that we are very, very close not only to what is in the accident potential zone, the ACUs, but much of what we're talking about is just right outside the ACUs. And I'm going to tell you something, an accident doesn't know between a line. Just because you say, well, here's the line, so we can build right outside the line because it's not inside the line. Well, you know, many accidents happen right outside the line. You can't tell a plane. You could only have an accident inside the line. So I would really caution us to not halt something because of a speech today. So I wanted to put that on the table. That being said, I've watched for many years, and I've wanted to see this sports complex utilized. I have always been a little reluctant about the sale of the sports complex, but I really want to see something there, and I love this. I really like this. Now, what my question is now, I have a question. How would you accommodate, if you could, local sports entities, such as local soccer? We have baseball very well taken care of between J.D. Red and Harris Field, but soccer is an issue, and we are getting ready to put soccer fields in different parks, such as Mary Roscoe Warren Park. But how would you be able to accommodate local, like the local soccer league?
What we put in the presentation is, one, we would contribute dollars towards identifying and creating other facilities for the Youth Soccer Association and baseball associations, and work with the city to determine what amounts were appropriate, and hopefully those could be offset on part of our purchase strategy. We had an installment type of a buy, a $15 million purchase price, and $12 million in 3 years, and then another $3 million at the end of 5 years. But one of the things about the Academy, every year we provide scholarships of hard cash of about $2.5 million a year to young individuals. We also, through the Boys and Girls Club, which we can do through the Youth Baseball and Youth Soccer Association, provide $500,000 of scholarships annually to where they actually come to the Academy and participate and they have to be proficient in the sport. So we're very we're very youth-minded and developing youth, and there's no way that we would have an interest in coming into this community and not supporting the local activities, not unlike what we do in the Bradenton and Manatee and Sarasota counties. And we spend a lot of dollars doing that, and we have come up with methods for doing that in a way that's seamless to our operation, but also gives a fantastic opportunity to children who would never be able to experience it. Just on first tee alone, we've just given out 2 scholarships through Paula Kramer, as well as we have a bunch of first tee children at the academy as we speak, experiencing the summer. And we also have the coaches there where we're helping and training, and in Ledbetter we have certification, as well as in the voluntary tennis, and we're training and educating coaches. We do that today in soccer, and we do that today in baseball, coaches from all over around the world, as well as coaches in the local community. So we are very local-minded, and otherwise we wouldn't be where we are today.
And I see that you have basically a replica of what you're going to do here in Bradenton, Florida.
Pardon me?
You have this in Bradenton.
Yes, this, the IMG Academy's background is in Bradenton and is continuing to grow. And this was just a rare opportunity. And when I was sitting and thinking about the concept with Dave Clark, you know, a very difficult thing to do is to take a facility like that and start it from scratch with no revenue stream and try to build up a program such as what you're talking. And our ambition is to we have a school that's up and operating that has revenue, so if we bring the actual students that are there today on a full-time basis and for soccer and baseball and pick them up and put them in place, we will then have an up and running school. Our school goes from preschool all the way through post-grad with the University of Miami.
Well, that was my next question. When you said education, so you actually are going to have a school on site, a high school as well.
Our interest would be to do that, to bring our school and expand it and offer it to the community as well as to the customers. And I realize that there's, which I'll be honest, I hadn't thought about some of the things you brought up.
We need to take a serious look at
we would be sensitive to that.
Because there are places within the sports complex, and Kurt, you would know this better than I, but there are places within the complex that are very safe for full use, and then there are places where it's very limited use, and that's
and if we needed to place the school in another location, close proximity is not a problem. And today we have the Bradenton Academy, we have St. Stephen's, and then we have the Pendleton School that's on site.
That's very interesting. How many students would be like in the high school?
Well, to start, we would open in a manner to where the school is viable. We have a very viable school. We have, let me just, if I could touch on academics a little bit. I'm the founder of the Pendleton School, and I put that together from, just like we can deliver athletes in the world arena in our sports. One of our greatest interests is to deliver them intellectually and academically, and the Pendleton School, we hope that someday will be a model for the United States, if not the world, for high-achieving individuals. So when we make this move, we would typically move our team activity in spring, and we would move our summer activity for the summer camps, and then fall would be the opening of the full-time season. That would be 135 soccer players today. And as we speak, we have 200 soccer players a week there training. We have 150 Woodback players living there for 10 weeks training with us today in baseball. The baseball players, it would be another probably 75 baseball players that would be moving over. In addition to 43 college teams, 40 high school teams, national soccer teams from around the world, as well as professional teams, as well as professional athletes. Doing individual training, because our Performance Institute is all about making the athlete the best that they can be and developing them athletically and physically.
Okay.
Hopefully I answered your question.
One other question. I'm sorry. I'm hoping I see everyone's questions. When you mentioned commercial housing, that is to house the people that are going to be accessing the
Yes.
area. Okay.
What we found over the years, when we started, we had dormitories. We had 42-bedroom condominiums, which we still have today, that the children stay in, and it was what we would call dorms. And as we started doing that, we also have an adult business where we have adults that come down to play golf and train in golf and tennis and IPI and various things. We then developed some other accommodations, and what happened is families all around us were moving down into the area, so we started building housing to keep everybody in close proximity so that we're not busing people all over town, which we happen to do today. So as we've developed this thing, we kind of developed a sense of community. More and more people started to move in and around Bradenton and Sarasota, and actually on our complex. And that's why we're acquiring more at the Academy and expanding our compound from, as I said, 10 acres to it's now over right around 500 acres and rising.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy.
Any other questions? Yes.
A few comments. The presentation was very nice, and you do have a nice facility, but I've stood on record before that I don't believe that we should have any residential or school uses on the baseball stadium, and I agree that I would like to see some recommendation from the base, because we don't want anything that's going to encroach on the base, and if this is too high an intensity of a use, I would never agree with that. My vision for the baseball stadium would be more recreational use, park use. I'd really like to see a youth center with more youth activities, and I'd love to have the Mayor's Youth Council work on that.
If I could just interject, Ms. Gardner, this is all, like I said, this has all just happened today. I'm planning on having a workshop where we actually sit and we talk.
That would be great.
And open to the community so that we can get feedback from the community as well. Everyone has different ideas. I know when I first met with you, I was very concerned about the housing component because, and again, I didn't bring my notes, but there were a lot of houses you wanted to build.
Right.
That housing component was a very big concern to me.
Well, we didn't touch on the quantity of houses when we met, but there's a couple things. I understand the issue with the military zone and whatnot, and that is an issue that I hadn't thought of as extensively. You people live with it every day.
I mentioned it when we met that there was an acres.
Right, but what our proposal is a method to make the property viable. And what made the Academy viable over the years was not just being a tennis academy, but being tennis, golf, soccer, baseball, basketball, ice hockey, sports medicine. Eventually we're adding surgery centers, country clubs, and all these various things with housing elements that are appropriate to the operations, whether they're right there on the complex or whether we put them in close proximity that would be what we would term as a safe zone. Those are things we could look at. But important to making that center viable so that it's not what we're looking at today from a standpoint of economic cost to the city, deterioration over time. You have to put a blend of things, and that blend creates community. It also creates attraction, which brings more people to Homestead, stimulates development, and stimulates values. We're nothing but an added value exercise, and that's how we looked at it. I understand where you're coming from the comments we're getting now, so maybe it's not the right time or the right fit.
Well, I also wanted to clarify too that I know you talk about scholarships for kids, but we're also, as I recall from our meeting, there's also a fee for some students to attend this academy, quite a hefty fee, and this would not be a school that would just be open to the community. This would be a school that you're going to be bringing kids from all over. I know we talked about the different countries and everything else, so as far as this being a school that would serve the community, I doubt that there'd be very many children from our community that would be going there unless they were scholarshiped.
Well, those are things we can look at. I also look at the facility from the standpoint of the community being able to use it, tournaments, educational programs. Yes, we're talking about a private school,
yes,
and a private school that would be attractive to individuals who send their children to private schools. It's not a public school.
Right. Vice Mayor, do you have any comments?
I was waiting to see if there was anything further from your right and far right.
Ms. Gardner? I'm through.
I just, I'm interested in the concept, but I mean, certainly, we go back to some of the conversations that we've had along the way. I know you didn't, in your presentation, you made no reference to what you would do with the existing stadium. There was talk about the soccer fields and everything, but the most deteriorated portion of the stadium, the most deteriorated portion of the facility is the actual stadium itself. and there was no reference made to what you would do there.
Well, we today have all kinds of events. Just in soccer, we have the Nike Friendlies with 80 nations that come, the best soccer teams from around the world. We would basically renovate that facility, put it back in action so that it's something that could help our business as well as do city-minded activities and events that make sense for Homestead. But we have already put a schedule together of an initial capital program for renovations that is, and again, they're rough numbers because we haven't come down to the area to tighten up the numbers, but they're roughly around $5 to $6 million that we would be putting in either immediately or over a period of time. We're a very capital-intensive business. We're always maintaining, upgrading, and adding to the various elements that we have. And one of the other reasons on the education, why we have an educational program around our academy, is because when making a talented individual, you have to have a flexible setup for high-performing individuals. So we have a school where they train in the morning, play in the afternoon, or play in the morning, train in the afternoon, and if you are super talent, you usually have a very flexible schedule where you might be doing school in the morning, school in the later part of the afternoon, and training in between depending on what we're doing. And the University of Miami Online High School is accredited in every state, but it gives 24/6 high touch to where when the athlete's on the road or traveling, they have the ability to stay in sync with what's going on with their curriculum back at school. So again, our education was more designed around what we were doing, and I don't know whether that's a fit or not a fit. But
Well, I'll just wait for the workshop.
Gardner?
Thank you. I guess at its very core, what your presentation does tonight, or your submission of the letter of intent, allow, irrespective of what the mayor may have announced or signal his personal preference for, it gives this council the opportunity to again publicly decide whether or not we want to sell or retain that property in whole or in part. And from my perspective, we have to first make that decision and then move on to come to some consensus as to what our vision for that property might be. Now, my perspective is at this point that a couple of years ago this council made a determination that that property would not be sold, that we recognized that size of property and the situation of the property configuration could not be replaced by the city for public uses, recreational, passive open space, could not be replaced virtually at any cost in our community. So I think that's the first hurdle we have to jump. Now, what's interesting is that your proposal would seem to have some of the same issues of airbase encroachment, of track encroachment, and traffic issues that a school use would have, and maybe even more so. Now, that's not to say that those issues are not insurmountable, but the issues that your proposal creates are certainly no different or no less than some of the issues, the concerns that have been expressed from Councilwoman Bell as to the placement of a school on that site. I guess my question is what kind of time frame are you under?
Well, that's a very good question because what we were planning on doing is taking a portion of our business and moving it to Homestead. We don't have to do that. We're a very fluid company, very entrepreneurial in how we're developing. I saw this as an opportunity. The opportunity was brought to us. We looked at it. At my first blush, I was thinking, I don't know if this is something we would like to do. When I saw the complex, I said, well, the way to make it work is I'd pick up a piece of our business and move it. Now, to move our business, the only time you can move it is spring, summer, and fall. Otherwise, when we're talking about moving, we're talking about moving revenue streams in and revitalizing overnight. So the time frame that we had in mind, because I had thought that this was something under really serious consideration, was spring of '07. Go through another year that might not be an interest of ours because we're in a very fluid business developing what we're doing. And we hadn't looked at an opportunity like this before. It is an opportunity, and I'm not saying that to say, you guys have to rush around and make up your mind. But we were looking at an '07 and getting active here very quickly on the back end of '06. Having said that, I can't tell you where we would be or where our mind would be in 08, 09.
The reason for my question is that even if we were to decide at some point that we would retain ownership and control of all or substantially all of the property and develop a plan for that property, that does not necessarily exclude some or all of the components, proposed components of what you would anticipate to do here. So I guess by not taking action tonight does not necessarily mean that there is no opportunity for you to come back and fit some of your operations with what our vision may be.
Let me address that. The concept of picking up soccer and baseball and moving it was how to launch the initiative and get the effort off the ground. The next step is to do exactly what we did in Bradenton and add all the added values, add the other sports, add the other educational elements, and add the other housing and community elements, whether they're on the site or around the site. And the reason for that is because that's why our business is viable. That's why our business has survived for 30 years, not because it's one-dimensional or one piece and part. So from our perspective, I don't think we'd have an interest in a piece or part because, like I said, this is what we've done for 30 years, is what I know how to do, and if we were going to make this happen and viable, I know how to pick it up. Ted and I and Jeff sitting behind me know how to pick it up and move it in and make it all work day one. But to put pieces and parts, I don't know that would be the interest. You had indicated, at one point that, like in Boca Raton, they have the Chris Everett Academy. We own 48% of that academy. In fact, I'm very involved in running that academy. And I've already had discussions with John Everett about potential expansion of that tennis element. So we're looking at how to expand various elements and create what we have. So I think what's more important for the commission is to determine, and I'd welcome anyone to come to the academy, because seeing on a video and actually being there firsthand is a little different exercise. But I think it's more important for the commission to determine is, would this be something you want? And if it is, we would entertain it. The window is probably in the very near future. It starts to close as you get towards spring of '07, summer of '07. You're talking in grow-in periods and fixing the turf. Because we have projects all over the world that we're involved in, and things might, I can't tell you today that '08 or '09 would be of interest to us.
I'll take that as it comes.
Yeah.
I guess then, Madam Chair, what this brings us back to is that the staff recommendation is for the council to determine whether or not this complex should be designated as a recreational facility with budgeted impact fees, or whether or not an RFP should be issued for the sale and/or lease of the property. So I think that's the question we need to answer tonight without addressing the particular merits or demerits of the IMG presentation.
Let me just ask a question, and then you can make further comments. I'm going to ask this of probably David or even Kurt. I read this recommendation. However, do you think it's wise to make that decision tonight without having a workshop and advertising it to the community?
I don't think you have to. I mean, in our perspective, we've been, working with the baseball stadium. We're having people such as this come up and make presentations. Happen to be, we thought, very interesting anyway, but we're trying to bring all of this, as the bidding issue was, bring all of this to at least a direction. Do you want us to spend time doing this, or should we forget? And the next time, someone walks up, we know that, look, we're not going to do it, so don't put your time in or whatever. We're just not interested. So,
and this is what I've been begging for the last 2 years, is to come to some sort of decision, because, I have people that are always contacting me, and quite frankly, I've been in a very precarious position. I don't know what to tell them. One day it is, one day it isn't, and one day we don't know. So, but I respect what you said, Mr. Vice Mayor, but I just don't know if we can make that recommendation tonight.
Well, certainly if you want to do a workshop.
Well, I think a twist on that is that we direct the manager to not devote time and effort to negotiate and further look at letters of intent until we sit down as a group in these workshop situations and come to some consensus as to where we want to go at this point.
Before we do that, though, I just want to say, you have always been right up front. You tell the truth. I admire you even more tonight when Mr. Losner asked you those tough questions, and you said, and as you said to me, it's either all or we can't do it.
Right.
And I think this is
one thing if I could just add is, our parent company, IMG, Ted and I are owners in IMG Academy LLP, which is 60% owned by IMG, which is owned by Ted Forsman, who purchased IMG shortly after the late Mark McCormick. And the reason I said the time frames that I said is because we've sold it up above, and they're sensitive of where we put our brand, and they're sensitive of our expansion, meaning sensitive that they're not keen on a lot of expansion. So as we go down the path, if this gets delayed and changes, it might be a corporate scenario that I can't sell again.
Well, what I would like to do is I would like to put together a workshop next week. I realize it's a holiday week, but if we're in town, I know I'm going to be in town, maybe we could put together a workshop next Thursday. I think would be okay too. But and then we can give you you're even welcome to come to those workshops. That might be good for you to do as well. But I do think we need to put together a workshop ASAP, and I'll get with Marlene with Parks and Recs and schedule that. Probably it will be for next Thursday, because that's a good day for me as well.
Well, and Ms. Wallman, I think that if based on today's appointment of you and I and Ms. Bell to operate as, I hate to say we're co-chairs of a committee to address the educational, the Parks and Recreation, and I guess I should wear a black and white striped shirt as the referee. I don't know.
You are, but
I object to that.
So there's got to be a smarter marketer somewhere. But
I have a question. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask, but is there a time frame in which the city would know whether they would sell it or not sell it? Because
at this workshop,
less than 30 days.
I am hoping that we'll be able to bring forth a recommendation at the next council meeting after the workshop and get it done, because it's about time. There's a question, sir.
Bill, I might, I was going to suggest that maybe the three of us meet, obviously a public meeting, come one, come all, but to sit down and see how and where we'd like to proceed.
Well, could we do that at the workshop?
I'd love to do that Thursday.
At the workshop, we'll do that. Sir, could you come to the microphone? Or a microphone?
He's coming up.
Councilwoman Wallman, I have a comment. I think that, and I don't mean to sound wishy-washy, but when we, and I've been opposed to selling it in the past because I really think it's such a fabulous asset that the city has, and there's just not land out there like that that's just irreplaceable. So, but then again, I hate to get on an absolute bandwagon that it's either this or nothing. Never, yes or no, absolutely, because sometimes ideas come along and present themselves and are very, very good ideas and are timely and are beneficial to the community. So while I'm trying not to sound wishy-washy, I'm hesitant at this time to say that I absolutely would support or absolutely would oppose whatever, because of the fact that offers and opportunities do present themselves, and I don't want to lock anybody out. If it's very viable and it's beneficial to the city and it really is an economic stimulus, if you will, to the whole community, it brings a lot of dollars into the community, I think that I would be careful, for me, I'm talking about myself, of just saying absolutely never sell it or absolutely sell it. So I don't know that I want to go forth with the recommendation of deciding that, because, like I said, and I know it does put staff in a bit of a difficult situation, but sometimes things come along and you think, that's a fabulous idea, and while the complex sits there and sits there and sits there and sits there and something comes along, but my main concern is being very aware and very cautious of a particular accident potential zone.
I'd like to answer you if you don't mind.
Please.
If you'll just bear with me just for one moment.
Thank Judy, that's it.
But I'd like to answer that because if we do make this a recreational facility, and we do decide to do that, we have to make that decision in order to use the impact fees to do what we need to do to make it a recreational facility. So there are decisions that they're going to have to be made. We can't go out there and get grants, and we have a professional grant writer that specializes in parks. We can't do that unless we have a designation for this piece of property. So as it may be that, you want to, I respect your opinion, Ms. Bell, but at the same time, there has to be, and it may be that we have to divide the land, and we need to make one part one way and one part the other way. I don't know. Hopefully that will come out at the workshop. But you have to make some decisions because of the utilization of the impact fees, because we would need a master plan in order to know in which direction we want to go as a recreational facility. There's a lot of components here that right now, we're just kind of touching here and getting a little feel over, as to what we might want on the other side. Today we had a lot thrown at us. All right, it was quite an amazing day, but. And then again, we might come back and say, yes, this is exactly what we want. I don't know. But there are decisions that will need to be made, because once those impact fees are used, if we're going to make it a recreational facility, then we have to have a commitment. So that's just my answer to that. Sir, would you please state your name and address?
My name is Jay Rourke. I'm at 16900 Southwest 274th Street. I've been a Homestead resident since the 3rd grade, and my father was a fighter pilot out at the Air Force Base, and we retired out here, and I went to South Dade High School, graduated of 75. So I'm definitely I feel like a pioneer, even though I've only been here since that long. But I'm one of the ones that's kind of instrumental in bringing the project and the stadium and everything to the attention of the folks from IMG and everything. And I'm incredibly excited. I've always been a sports nut. I played some professional sports for a few years, and I know what the caliber of these gentlemen are and of the facilities that they are planning on building here. I want to really emphasize the fact of making sure that we all have all the information we can. If there's any, I've been trying to get some of the council people to go up, and it's not to try to sway you, it's just so that you've seen it. Actually physically go there, knock on it, and look and feel and see the economic impact that area has gotten, and see the operation while it's moving. I think it's extremely important for you all in your decision-making process. And it's not to try to sway you one way or the other. It's just so that you have all the information. It's really easy to make a decision from here with everything else going on. But I think it's very important that you guys include that in your decision-making process.
Now, you're the broker, realtor.
We've actually merged companies. I'm actually a part of the IMG K-Club family.
I want to refresh my memory because I'm not quite sure about one aspect, and that was when I talked about the local soccer clubs and could you still facilitate these kids and how this could happen. And as I recall, that would have been phased out over a period of time pretty much, correct?
No, we work with, today in Manatee and Sarasota County, we work with all the youth soccer programs. So
can you come a little closer to the microphone? I'm sorry.
Today in Manatee and Sarasota County, we work with all the youth soccer groups from Sarasota, Manatee County. We would be doing the same here, but to answer your question specifically, how would we and what would we do, I couldn't tell you what that is today. I mean, we do workshops with coaches, we do workshops with teams, we have competitions and tournaments at our site today for the local, it's called the Magic, which is the soccer association up there. And so we're nothing but a grassroots company. We started in the grassroots, and we never get away from it because that's what we're about. So there would be we wouldn't have any issues working with the various organizations here for youth soccer, youth baseball, golf, all of it. We're more than capable. Years ago, we had the Ashbolletary Cities program, and all the programs in Newark, New Jersey. We had the SUNY Institute, which I believe up in Albany. We were in Kansas City. We've done all kinds of things that go back to helping young children, boys and girls club level, or whatever it may be, or youth association.
Okay. Thank you. If there's no other questions, Mr. Porter?
I just want to make one comment real quick, and I'll be brief. But the important issue in my mind is really we've got the two birds in our hand, which are the Speedway and the Air Force component. And before I want to see us drop either one or both of those to go out and try to grab another bird out off another bush, what I would like to see is in your workshops that you pursue and make sure that there's adequate input from the other agencies that are going to be affected negatively or positively before we make any sort of a move one way or the other. That's the most critical component in my mind. I think the project, I have no problem with what their vision is or what it might or might not do for the community. We've always said we need more green space. We're short on green space. That's a concern. But more so than anything, before I would be comfortable making a decision, I need to hear from, the military component, and I hear the need to know what the Speedway's position is as far as is it negative or positive on them, because they are the two working entities right now. So outside of that, it's really difficult to go forward.
Well, I will be facilitating the Parks and Recs portion of the workshop. I'm sure Ms. Bell will be facilitating the area that the proposed, if there is a proposed school. And Mr. Rosner?
On my niche.
Maybe you're just the
referee.
The rose between us or something. But I...
That didn't come out right.
But I'll certainly, of course, as far as Parks and Recs goes, I can't speak for Ms. Bell or Mr. Rosner, but as far as Parks and Recs goes, would certainly entertain anybody from the community that would like to speak. And at this time, I would like to ask if there's any public comments. No? All right. So should there be a motion made to move this forward to a workshop?
That would be sufficient. That would be fine.
I'll make that motion or second that motion.
Okay. Mr. Rosner and Mr. Porter second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Waldman. And that's it for the Parks and Recreation portion of the agenda. And I want to thank the presenters for coming down and
I appreciate you.
answering very fully and forthrightly. Okay, I want to go back, and before we go forward, I just want to announce that Mayor Warren was pleasantly surprised by the visit by some old friends from out of town, and he's spending time with them and excused himself from the meeting. And, after his presentation today, he deserves some time out for his own. We'll go back to item 2B, tab 2, the Hazen Sawyer wastewater peak flow estimates. Kurt?
Mr. Vice Mayor and Council, Julio Brea will make a presentation on tab 3 and 4 regarding the water treatment issues.
Vice Mayor, Council, these two items are connected in some way, but we'll go with the first one first. It's a peak flow study that's going to be performed of all of our wastewater pump stations and collection system. This study will serve two purposes. One will be, we're now in the process of going through an extensive design report, which will be the second item, for the expansion at the wastewater treatment plant. What this peak flow analysis will do for us is define the peak factors that we need to use, the peak flow factors in terms of our design to be able to efficiently treat the flow both during normal flows and also during peak events, which are usually storm events. The second purpose for this peak analysis is to comply with EPA mandated requirements that the county had to agree to with their consent decree that they had regarding the wastewater collection system of their system. Basically what they're doing is a peak analysis study to, again, in the same fashion, define the peak flows that are going to the county treatment plants. Although we're not a volume customer of the county, we do have a connection with them, so this will just help define how much flow we actually send to them, which usually the flow that we do send to them is during peak events. So this study will serve those two purposes.
I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second.
We have motion and second on item 2B. Any further comment from council? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next item.
The next item is the engineering report, is the first step, or not really the first step, but one of the major steps in the design process that we're going through right now for the treatment facility. This study will define, once we know the flows, and which we do know that, but once we add the peak flow and all this to the information that we need, we will be able to design the plant by improving the design processes that need to be improved. So in some areas, there may not be a need for capacity improvements, but in others there will be. We're also looking at operational issues as well, and also new technology that might be available now that wasn't available when we did the original plant. So this study will look at everything that's available out there, look in terms to the flow capacity that we need, and see where we need to put those improvements in the facility. And it's the first step in the design process to then go to a full-fledged design of the expansion of the plant.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, item 3A, Councilwoman Bell.
Thank you. We have professional services for urban design agreement with Bermelo and Ajamil. Ajamil.
Okay.
I'll move the recommendation because you're not going to quit in the middle of a project, are you?
That's right.
Well, actually, the services we had estimated that because of our development, the velocity of it and the amount, really, it's gone above that. We're just extending that.
We have an additional $150,000 expenditure.
Additional $150,000 extension, and this is cost recoverable. It's part of our cost recoverable.
I'll move it.
It's been moved by Councilman Porter. It's been seconded by Councilwoman Garner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes carry. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bell. And final item would be item 5A, beginning of the process to extend the Northwest moratorium for an additional 6 months.
I'll move that, Steve.
Thank you. Have a motion, we have a second. Thank you, Judy. Kurt, do you want to start the conversation, or do we want to?
We have an approval from August 15th, which it hasn't expired yet, but by the time we go through it's a year. August 15th, 07 is what we had here, so it's a year extension. And I think we're going to need that to take an extensive look. I think the hospital is going to impact us again in the Northwest section on what development to do there. And we still need more time to look at that. And just a reminder that really it's the multifamily development that's really impacted the most here. Everything else still goes through.
All right, I want to go ahead and add for the record that I've talked with our staff, and that they're not aware of anyone who's awaiting the expiration of the moratorium to run in with building request or permit request. Talked with Mr. Stotts and on board there, and I'm hopeful that now that we have completed and adopted the Southwest Master Plan, that Mr. Stotts can begin to sit down with us and we can incorporate some of the issues from the Abacoa Design Institute and begin turning our sights to Duplex City, which was a major component and I think basis for the implementation of the moratorium. And just to reiterate what the manager said, we're not impacting commercial and we're not impacting the higher density development along the busway corridor that was established. This would be more of a lid on those isolated infill type situations. Clearly, I think that we'll have to take a look at it if we have more come in and more requests, but it seems though that the market out there is not geared to that, and we have those lots that would have otherwise been amenable to that being utilized for infill, single-family detached type housing, but certainly we need to discuss, publicly and on the record as to the impacts and where we are. And I've talked to Mr. Chandra. We believe we've identified a potential funding source to be able to go out and obtain some outside help. And I also want to point out, it occurred to me that perhaps as we begin to workshop and go through those new commercial design standards that have been established by district, that could be a tremendous part of the foundation upon which to build the commercial component of the Northwest Master Plan. So we do have things in place. We have the people in place as we've evolved from the Southwest Master Plan. Unfortunately, Sherry's up to her eyeballs still in transportation, but I know that, pardon the pun, with Jeff's leadership, we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mayor said that today.
Mayor said a lot today.
In your lap, yeah. Councilwoman Bill.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
We went to Design Institute at Abacoa in Jupiter, Florida, and I was actually invited to go there, and I really felt like the Vice Mayor should be there since he was the one that instituted the Northwest Master Plan, because the area that I chose when I was invited, you pick a targeted area in your city that you feel like is in desperate need of revitalization or whatever, and I had chosen the Northwest area, specifically the Northwest Duplex City area. And so we went to the Design Institute, and we got our books back. Did you get your book? We got our book back on our design. And we got books on our designs and our ideas, and one of the things that I've been talking to Mr. Stotts with the CRA about making this an area that can actually be part of the CRA, because this particular area of the Northwest is not a part of the CRA, so it doesn't benefit from CRA dollars. So we are looking to make it a part of the CRA, and that's one very, very good way of getting some funds to help revitalize that area. It really is a blighted area, and there's so many things that we can do in that particular neighborhood. So I'm excited about that and very much in favor of extending the Northwest moratorium as many times as we need to.
I know it's been difficult and really a jaw-clenching process that when we do put these moratoriums in place, we are subject to scrutiny. And I brought it forward, and I really appreciate the fact that we've got the confidence to move forward. And I don't know if we all really keyed in on it when Bob Levy made his presentation a couple of weeks ago, but our hands are really somewhat more tied now to eradicate bad situations in our community, that we no longer have the right as a community to exercise eminent domain to eradicate slum and blight conditions. So it's got to be through overlays and then certain regulations being put in place, such as we did in the Southwest Master Plan, to help us along in Duplex City. And I know I spoke with Don Delaney some time ago, the architect of the downtown TIF bond, who when we last met was very optimistic, and I know it shared with Rick some of his thoughts on that really Duplex City and some of the other fringe areas of the Northwest area of our community really were squarely in the crosshairs of the criteria of doing perhaps additional TIF bonding, but certainly a CRA overlay to help us do things that otherwise very difficult to do. Any further comment from council on the extension? Any public comment on the moratorium extension? Do we need a roll call on that, David?
Not necessary. Motion will be fine.
I move it.
Well, we had a motion.
Oh, we had a motion.
Yeah, we had a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, and the ayes have it. Councilwoman Waldman, anything further? Bill?
Today I didn't get called at all.
It's y'all's fault.
The mayor forgot to call me at the State of the City address today, so I brought him a sign tonight that I was going to wear so he wouldn't forget. No, thank you, Mr. Losner.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bell. Ms. Waldman?
What it is?
I think it. Parks and Recs,
I'm bearing gifts from Parks and Recs tonight. Would you pass it down to Miss Bell?
What's her name?
What's her name? And this is Norman. You pass it down to what's his name? And this is yours. Can't forget the mayor since he caused all this trouble today. And they're really cute shirts. I already gave Jeff the hand of these. But they're the City of Homestead 4th of July 2006. And on the back it has featuring the Caribbean Chillers. Remember, that's our Jimmy Buffett almost band. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll just take this opportunity to remind you that 4th of July is next week, and the gates open at 4. My friends aren't going to be there, Ed and Clara, but the gates open at 4. Fireworks are at 9. I think the party starts at 5. The events, right, Marlene? I think it's 5 that the events start. And there's going to be just lots and lots of fun. So come out, enjoy it, and I'll see you there.
Thank you, Ms. Wallen. Ms. Garner?
No, this is Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Kurt.
Vice Mayor, I have one item. Came in late yesterday afternoon. The board entered an order of taking for the satellite issue for our new City Hall area. And I'm going to have to $650,000 plus a $150 check for court registry. So that to be on the record.
So the practical effect of that is that we are soon to own that parcel.
That's right.
Very good. Well done.
Is that Romans?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor, if I could just say, there's no intent to offend anybody by the shirts I gave you. They're all extra large, okay? I wasn't trying to.
Do you have to be present to win?
That anybody with that size. Thank you.
Thank you all. I have nothing for the committee, so if there's no further public comment, I'll adjourn the meeting.